Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Nun Dalid Amud Aleph, 6 lines from the top. The Gemara established the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan that not only do we say the bracha on fire, Borei Me'orei Ha'esh, on Motzei Shabbos, but we even do so on Motzei Yom HaKippurim. The Gemara now asks from the following brayso: Meisvei ein mevarchin al ha'ur ela b'motzei Shabbos. Hoyel utchilas briyosohi. V'kivan sheroye mevarch miyad. The first opinion of the Brisa says we only make a bracha of Borei Me'orei Ha'esh on Motzei Shabbos because that's when it was created, and we make the bracha immediately upon seeing the fire. Rabbi Yehuda Oimer soidun al kois. Rabbi Yehuda argues and says that we put it together with the Havdalah when we make the entire Havdalah on the kois. We don't say the bracha immediately upon seeing the Eish. V'om Rabbi Yochanan halach Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yochanan is halach Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda is not arguing only on whether we say the bracha initially upon seeing the fire, or do we wait until we say Havdalah. But Al Kapani, Rabbi Yochanan is halach as Rabbi Yehuda. And therefore, we don't find that indeed there's a bracha on the Eish Motzei Shabbos. There, nobody argues in this brayso about that. Everybody agrees on Motzei Shabbos you're making the bracha. Answers the Gemara: Lo kasha kan be'ur sheshovas kan be'ur hayotzei min ha'etzim u'min ha'avonim. When it comes to the bracha on Eish Motzei Yom HaKippurim, it's because there was shovas, dahainu. On Yom HaKippurim, but the fire was limited. We could not use the fire, we could not ignite a fire, and therefore the full use is only on Motzei Yom HaKippurim. For that, we're making a bracha Borei Me'orei Ha'esh. Whereas on Motzei Shabbos, the reason is different. The reason is because the fire was created on Motzei Shabbos, and the Gemara will tell us later on this Amud that Adam Harishon was able to take 2 stones and take them, rub them together, and create fire. That happened on Motzei Shabbos. Tani Chada, one brisa states, Ur hayotzim na'etzim umna'avonim mevarchin alov. One brisa states you make a bracha on that fire that emanates from the rubbing of stones and wood. V'tani Chada, another brisa states, Ein mevarchin alov. You don't make a bracha. So it seems to be a contradiction. Loi kasha, answers the Gemara again, Kan b'motzei Shabbos, Kan b'motzei Yom HaKippurim. When it comes to then the stones and the wood that are rubbed together that make a fire, that's the bracha that we say on Motzei Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Mefazron, Rabbi Chia Mechanson. Rabbi, he would make the bracha on the Eish when he would see it. Then he would make a bracha on Pesachim later on. Whereas his Rabbi Chia, he brought them all together. The Hainu, he would make Havdalah the way that we do so all together. Omer Rabbi Yitzchok bar Avdimi, Afal Pesha Rabbi Mefazron, even though, as we just stated, that Rabbi says that the din is to Mefazer, the Hainu, when you see the Eish, you make a bracha on the Eish. When you get a hold of Bisamim, you make a bracha, Borei Mini Bisamim, on Motzei Shabbos. Still, says Rabbi Yitzchok bar Avdimi, nonetheless, Choyze v'soidun ala kois, kedei lahoitzi bonav v'menei beiso. Nonetheless, Rabbi did make Havdalah on the kois to be moitzei his children, the din of Havdalah, whereby he made the bracha again on the fire as well as on the Bisamim. Ask the Gemara, v'ur b'motzei Shabbos ibri, was fire created on Motzei Shabbos? V'hotanya, behold, it states in the Brisa, Asara dvorim nivru be'erev Shabbos ben hashmoshos. There were 10 things that were created during the twilight on ben hashmoshos erev Shabbos ve'elu hein, and these are the following: Be'er, the Be'er Miriam that followed Klal Yisrael around in the Midbar, that gave them water. Ve'hamon, that fed Klal Yisrael in the Midbar. Ve'keshes, and the rainbow that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made, making a sign that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will not destroy the world with water, with a flood again. Ve'ksav, the lettering that would go in the luchos. Umichtav, the thing that was used to then scratch out the lettering. Ve'haluchos themselves. Ve'kivro shel Moshe, the burial place where Moshe was buried. Umaro she'omad by Moshe ve'Eliyahu, and the cave that Moshe Rabbeinu stood where HaKadosh Baruch Hu then passed over, and where Eliyahu was found. Pesichas Pia Osoin, the opening of the donkey's mouth in the story of Bilam. Upsichas Pia Oretz Livloyas HaRishoyim, and the mouth of the ground that swallowed up the Rishoyim in the time of Korach and his rebellion. Reb Nechemia Oimer Mishum Aviv Af HaUr Vehapered. He adds that even the Ur, the fire, was created Ben Hashmoshois Erev Shabbos, including the Pered, the mule. Rabbi Oshaya Oimer Mishum Aviv Af HaAyil Vahashomir. Even the Ayil that Avram Avinu saw when he was told not to shecht his son Yitzchak on Har HaMoriah, as well as the shomer that was used to cut the stones for the Beis Hamikdash, etc. Rabbi Yehuda Oimer Af HaTzvas. Rabbi Yehuda says even the tongs were created on Erev Shabbos Ben Hashmoshois. Hu Haya Oimer, he would say Tzovta B'Tzovta Misavda, that tongs and tongs would then be created, would be made. B'Tzovta Kamaisa Man Ovid. How then would you ever have the original tongs if you need other tongs to create tongs, to hold them and then put that iron in the fire to then form the tongs themselves? What was the original tongs? For here we see it must be that this was a creation that was bidei shamayim. They said to him, but it's possible to make a defus, to make a man-made type of mold, and then quickly form it. So there we see that indeed it would be a berry that is made of man-made. Lokashi, the Gemara says, is not a difficulty because so we're left with the question now. The question that we had said before, that we said that was the fire created on Motzei Shabbos. Here it states, name Reb Nechemia, that it was created Ben Hashmoshois Erev Shabbos. Lokasha answers the Gemara, Ha Be'ur Didon, Ha Be'ur HaDegehinim. The fire that was created by man. In other words, when Adam took the two stones and created fire, that was Motzei Shabbos. The fire of Gehenim, however, was created on Erev Shabbos Ben Hashmoshois. Or Didon b'Motzei Shabbos, or HaDegehinim be'Erev Shabbos. Ask the Gemara, V'hor the Gehenim be'Erev Shabbos, Ivri. Is it so that the fire of Gehenim, was indeed created on Erev Shabbos? V'hotanya, but it states in the Brayso, Shiva Dvorim Nivru Kodim Shenivra Olam. There are 7 things that were created before the creation of the world. Ve'eluhen, and these are the spiritual things: Torah, Teshuvah, Ve'gan Eden, Ve'gehinnom, Ve'kisei HaKavod U'Beis HaMikdash, U'Shmosham Mashiach. So these are the 7 things. The Gemara, before it brings a reconciliation, it first brings a proof for each one with the following Psachim. Torah, it states, T'chsiv Hashem Koneni Reishis Darka. Hashem, He made me, referring to the Torah talking, the beginning of its derech. That means before the creation of the world. Teshuvah, T'chsiv, it states, B'terem Harim Yilad. Excuse me. B'terem Harim Yiladu. Before the mountains were created. T'chsiv, it states, Toshev on Enosh Ad Dakar. That return, O man, until he is pulverized. And we say to him, return, people of man. In other words, do tshuva. So tshuva was made before the creation even of the Harim. Gan Eden, D'chsiv, Vayita Hashem Elokim, Gan Be'eden Mikedem. And here Mikedem is a reference to Mukdam La'olam. That was before the world. Gehinam D'chsiv. It says in the Pasuk, Ki oruch me'esmol tafte. Kisei HaKavod. Tafte is a reference to Gehinam. So it says me'esmol, from before the creation. Kisei HaKavod U'Beis HaMikdash. Those 2 things were also created before the creation of the world. D'chsiv, it says in the Pasuk, Kisei HaKavod Morom Me'rishon. The Kisei HaKavod, if the Moroim was Meirishon, from the first, Mikol Mokam Mikdashenu, which was also the place of our Beis HaMikdash, was also first, the Hainu, before the creation. Shmoi Shel Mashiach, the Sifat says, Yihi Shmoi La'olam, his name will be forever. Lifnei Shemesh Yinon Shmoi, before the sun existed was his name. So now we're left with the question, indeed, did we say that the fires of Gehenna was created on Erev Shabbos Ben Hashmoshois? Hare, it states over here, was created even before the creation of the world, before the first day of creation. And says the Gemara, Amrei Chalolahu de Nivra Koidnim Shnivra Olam. The place of Gehenna, that itself was created before the creation of the world. V'urdidei be'erev Shabbos, and the fire of Gehenna that was created ben Hashmoshes be'erev Shabbos. Ask the Gemara, v'urdidei be'erev Shabbos iber. The Gemara is now challenging, was indeed the fire of Gehenna created on erev Shabbos? V'hatanya, behold, we have another brayso. Rabbi Yosi Oimer, ur shebora kadosh baruch hu b'sheni b'Shabbos. The fires of Gehenna was created on the second day of the creation of the world. Ein loy kaviyah lo'im. It has no kaviyah, will not then turn off and become extinguished forever. Shenemar brings a pasuk. V'yotzu v'ra'u pipigre hanoshim hapoishim bi. And they went out and they saw those bodies of people who rebelled against me. Ki tola'atom loy tamus, because their decay will not die. The isham lo tichbe, and their fires will not become extinguished. So we see that indeed the Gehenna will not become extinguished for such people. Normally, those who deserve Gehenna get no more than 12 months, but there is an exception to that rule, as this pasuk states. Al Kopanim, are you going to say that the fires of Gehenna was created on Erev Shabbos? Here, this Bryce, according to Rabbi Yossi, states that it was created on Yom Sheni. V'omar Rabbi Beno bereid Rabbi Lo mipnei ma lo ne'emar ki toiv b'sheni b'Shabbos. He comes to prove what we just said, named Rabbi Yossi, that indeed it was created on the second day. Because why is it that we don't say the words ki toiv in the Psachim, in the creation of the world, Gabe, the second day of creation? Because, as Rabbi Yossi himself said earlier in this brayso, because the fires of Gehenna were created on that day, so therefore it doesn't state ki toiv. Even though it was not stated in the second day, because Gehenna was created on the second day, but nonetheless, the fires of Gehenna at least, but nonetheless, it was then included in the verse Gabi by the end of the creation, the sixth day. Shneimar vayar lekim es kol asher osa v'hinei toiv me'od. And since it states over here toiv me'od, it comes to include the fact that the Rishoyim are also nidoin boy in Gehenna. So we're left with the question: indeed, was the fires of Gehenna created on Erev Shabbos or the second day? Like we said before, the place of Gehenna was created before the creation of the world. V'ur didei b'sheni b'Shabbos, and the fire of Gehenna, that was on the second day, just as Rabbi Yossi stated in this brayso. V'ur didon b'machshava ola libaros be'erev Shabbos v'lo nivra ad motzei Shabbos, and our fire that humans use, as Adam Arishon took two stones and he then created fire by rubbing one against the other. That was initially thought to be created on Erev Shabbos, but was ultimately created on Motzei Shabbos. As the following brayso indicates, the Tanya, Rabbi Yossi Oimer Shnei Dvarim Olu b'machshava liborois be'erev Shabbos v'lo nivru ad Motzei Shabbos. There were two things that were thought, that went up on the das, so to speak, to be created on Erev Shabbos, were ultimately created on Motzei Shabbos. B'Motzei Shabbos nasan HaKadosh Baruch Hu deya ba'adam harishon me'ein dugma shel ma'ila. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the mindset, the capacity of Adam to then create fire on Motzei Shabbos. B'Motzei Shabbos nasan HaKadosh Baruch Hu deya ba'adam harishon me'ein dugma shel ma'ila ve'hevi shnei avonim v'tochnan zu bezu v'yetz me'en ur. and he took 2 stones, he grinded them, he grinded them together, and then emanated from that fire on Motzei Shabbos. Vehevi shtei behemois, and also he brought 2 behemois, v'hirkiv zu bezu, and he allowed the 2 to cohabit. V'yat the man pered, and came out a mule. In other words, he took a horse and a donkey. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel oimer pered b'mei Anna hayo. The mule was created already from the time of Anna, who then crossbreeded the 2 animals. Shemar, it states, Hu Anna asher motza es hayemim b'midbar. This is Anna, the name is Anna, who found the mules in the midbar. The pasuk states, Dorshi chamuros hayu oimrim. Those who expound the hidden types of psukim said the following: Anna pasul hayo. This person Anna was a psul. That means that he was somebody who was a mamzer. Lefika achevi pasul, and therefore he brought crossbreeding to the world as well. Shenemar states Eila b'nei Sa'ir, and it goes on to say in that pasuk, amongst them is his sons Loitam v'shoiva v'tzivoin v'ana. So clearly states that Anna was his son, and also says Tzivon was his son. It goes on to say v'ksiv Eila b'nei Tzivoin v'aya v'ana, and then the pasuk that comes afterwards states that the children of Tzivoin amongst them was Anna. Now we just said momentarily before that the children of Seir was Tzivon and Anna. Now it's saying the children of Tzivon was Anna. So how could that be? Shneimot says Eila b'nei Seir v'ksiv Eila b'nei Tzivon v'aya v'Anna. Ela must be, says the Gemara, Melamed shebat Tzivon al imoy. Tzivon came and he had relations with his mother, incestual relations, which we're calling Seir's wife. V'holi mimena Anna. And he had the child Anna with Seir's wife, which is called in the pasuk B'nei Seir. V'dil matrei Anna hava. Maybe there are 2 different Annos, and therefore it's not a proof that it's Anna who was a mamzer. Omar Rove. So the Gemara says, Rove said, Amina milsa deshvur malka loy amra umanu shmuel. I will tell you something that even the king of Persia, meaning the monarch, did not say. And who is that I'm referring to? That's Shmuel. He wasn't the king of Persia, but he had such a greatness that we referred to him as like the king of Persia, because we always follow the psak of Shmuel in regards to Mammon. Others say Amar Rapapa. Amina milsa dishvur malka loy amra umana rava. Rapapa says, I was going to say to you what even the king of Persia did not say. And who am I referring to? That is Rava. He's like the king of Persia. So it's either Shmuel or Rav that said it. Or Markro, the pasuk says, Hu Anna. Why say Hu Anna? What's the emphasis? He is Anna. It seems to be superfluous. What's the emphasis? Who? He is Anna. Hu Anna demikar. It's the same Anna that was mentioned before. And therefore, this is the Anna who's a mamzer.